Something quietly historic happened this week. The commander of the United States Indo Pacific Command, one of the most powerful military officers on the planet, flew to Chandigarh, India, not to New Delhi, not to a naval base, to the Indian Army's Western Command, the very command responsible for India's operations along the Pakistan border. The same command that executed Operation Sindoor just 9 months ago. And the question nobody is asking loudly enough is, why now? Welcome back. Today we are breaking down what is arguably one of the most strategically significant military visits of 2026. What it tells us about the rapidly shifting US-India relationship, the aftershocks of Operation Sindoor, and whether Washington is quietly admitting it got something very wrong. Let's get into it. On February 16, 2026, Admiral Samuel J. Paparo, commander of INDOPACOM, America's oldest and largest geographic combatant command, landed in Chandigarh alongside US Ambassador to India, Sergio Gore. They walked into the headquarters of India's Western Command and sat down with Lieutenant General Manoj Kumar Katia. And here's the first thing you need to understand. This has never happened before. INDOPACOM commanders have visited Indian naval commands in the past. But visiting an Indian Army command, that is unprecedented. Sources confirm the request specifically came from the American side. What were they briefed on? Everything. Operational preparedness along the Western Front, the command's historical legacy, and critically, a comprehensive briefing on the execution of Operation Sindoor, India's 5-day military campaign against Pakistan in May 2025. Ambassador Gore posted on X. Our joint efforts are key to a safe Indo Pacific. And Admiral Paparo told journalists he applauds the tactical execution and restraint shown by India during Operation Sindoor. That phrase, tactical execution and restraint, is very deliberate Pentagon language. We'll come back to what it really means. To understand why this visit matters, you have to remember where US-India relations were 6 to 9 months ago. It wasn't pretty. Operation Sindoor launched on May 7, 2025. India struck 9 terrorist camps inside Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir in retaliation for the Pahalgam terror attack that killed 26 civilians, mostly Hindu tourists. It was precise, it was measured. India called it done. Then it escalated. Pakistan struck back. India hit Pakistani military air bases. Things were spiraling. And here's where it gets complicated. US Vice President went on Fox News and said, direct quote, "We are not going to get involved in the middle of a war that's fundamentally none of our business." But within 48 hours, he and Rubio were on the phone with both sides around the clock. And then US President posted on Truth Social announcing a full and immediate ceasefire before India had even officially announced anything. He then repeated reportedly 30 times in speeches and interviews that he had personally stopped a nuclear war. He suggested trade threats were his leverage. He offered to mediate on Kashmir. He even repeated Pakistan's narrative that 5 Indian fighter jets had been shot down. India was furious. Indian PM told Parliament, no world leader asked India to stop Operation Sindoor. Jaishankar flatly denied any trade for ceasefire deal. Indian PM reportedly declined a personal invitation from President to stop by Washington. The trust deficit was real and it was visible. So what changed? 3 layers: economic, military, and geopolitical are all happening simultaneously. Layer 1, the trade reality. The US-India trade deal has been in critical negotiations throughout late 2025. In October 2025, both nations signed a 10-year major defense partnership framework, Rajnath Singh and US Secretary Hegseth putting pen to paper. That was a reset signal. America formally choosing India as a long-term strategic partner, not just an arms customer. Layer 2, the military reassessment. This is the most underreported angle. The US military was caught flat-footed by Operation Sindoor. They didn't expect India to strike so fast, so deep, and with such precision. They didn't expect the conflict to escalate the way it did before they could calibrate a response. Admiral Paparo, praising India's tactical execution, is the US military essentially saying, "We studied what you did, and we need to understand it better." The fact that they requested the Army command, not the Navy, tells you exactly what they are studying. Western theater land operations, integrated air defense performance, and precision strike doctrine under real combat conditions. You cannot simulate that in a war game. Layer 3. China. Everything in the Indo Pacific comes back to China. INDOPACOM covers 36 countries, including China but excluding Pakistan. So why is the INDOPACOM commander at India's Pakistan-facing headquarters? Because India just ran a live operational test against a Chinese-supplied military. Chinese radars, Chinese air defense systems, Chinese drones, all deployed by Pakistan. How those Chinese systems performed against Indian and Western origin platforms is directly applicable to what the US might face in a Taiwan scenario. That battlefield data is invaluable. No simulation gives you that. After Chandigarh, the delegation flew to Bengaluru to visit 3 defense startups: Digantara, Space Surveillance and Intelligence; Pixel, Earth Observation Satellites; and New Space Research and Technology, Unmanned Aerial Vehicles. Read that list again: Space Surveillance, Satellite Intelligence, Drones. This is not a diplomatic courtesy tour. This is the United States military actively mapping India's defense tech ecosystem, identifying what it can co-develop, co-produce, and integrate into shared operational frameworks. This connects directly to what both governments signed last October: cooperation in critical and emerging defense technologies. The 24th Joint Technical Group plenary, just held at DRDO headquarters in early February, had India's defense scientists and America's Assistant Secretary for Critical Technologies working on AI-enabled surveillance, autonomous systems, and space-based intelligence. The architecture of a deep, multi-domain military alliance is being quietly assembled, one meeting at a time. Here's my honest assessment. US President overplayed his hand after Operation Sindoor. He tried to use a military crisis to make himself look like a global peacemaker, and in doing so, publicly embarrassed India by crediting himself for the ceasefire, amplifying Pakistani narratives, and offering to mediate on Kashmir. A proud, strategically independent nation that has spent decades resisting exactly this kind of third-party interference was not going to let that slide quietly. But here's the thing: the strategic logic of US-India alignment is far stronger than any single political moment. Both countries fear a deepening China-Pakistan axis. Both benefit enormously from defense trade. Both need each other in the Indo Pacific like almost no other bilateral pairing. I don't think there was some grand White House strategy session where President decided to fix the relationship. I think the professionals, the Pentagon planners, the diplomats, the trade negotiators kept the machinery running even when the politics were strained. And Admiral Paparo visiting the Western Command is the clearest visible signal that the US military has moved past the political noise. This visit is also sending messages to multiple audiences simultaneously. To Pakistan, your value as a major non-NATO ally is under serious review. Experts are already calling for that status to be revoked. To China, India and America are now comparing notes on your weapon systems at the operational level. And to India itself, we see what you built, we respect what you did, and we want in. What you're watching unfold is not just a military visit or a relationship repair job. It is the United States making a calculated, long-term strategic bet that India is where America needs to stand in South Asia for the next decade. Whether this translates into a formal mutual defense framework, a deeper intelligence sharing upgrade, or joint space and drone surveillance operations, that's still being written behind closed doors. But the direction is unmistakable and the momentum is building fast. This is one of the most significant weeks in US India defense history, and it happened with barely a headline outside specialist circles. Now you know. If this breakdown was valuable, hit like and subscribe. Share it with someone who follows geopolitics. This conversation deserves a wider audience. We'll keep tracking how this unfolds. See you next time. Good night.